Hey leaders, welcome back. This is Lessons in Leadership. I want to thank you for joining me. Today, I'm following up on my commitment to try to post daily just to give you a little bit more information. What I want to talk about today is the importance of communication and specifically the mode in which we deliver that communication. When we're talking to individuals, specifically employees under us, we have to realize that not all of them are using the same map of the world as we are. So we realize everybody comes from a different background. Everybody comes from a different religious, ethical background, a different educational level background. So we have to be able to tailor our message to the multitudes in order for it to have the most impact. When you're a leader, your job is to try to mobilize people and to a concerted effort and to get as much out of each individual and as the greater collective. So you want to do everything you can to make each person as effective and efficient as they possibly can. And in order to do that, you need to deliver the message or the intended message so that it's received by everybody. So this is where the ability to effectively paint a picture or tell a story, as I always say it, comes into play. When you are talking to a group of people, you want to deliver that message so that it's easily grasped and it's easy for them to understand it regardless of their intellectual background or their intellectual level. If you think about some of the greatest communicators or orators in history, one of the people I think about who's had arguably one of the broadest reaches, think about someone like Jesus. He often spoke in parables to deliver his message because back then, not everybody was literate. Not everybody could read. Not everybody, in fact, there was a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. So when he was talking, he had to make sure that he relayed that message so that they could understand it and so that it would stick. And so then if we think again to some of the greatest things that we learned as children, whether it was through Bible stories or whether it was through, fables such as, was it Hansel and Gretel? Don't trust strangers. The Three Little Pigs, build your house with a strong foundation. Now that story may have been paid for by the brick industry. I'm not sure, but in all seriousness, those stories, we easily were able to grasp what the underlying message was, right? And it stuck with us. And that's why some of the simplest information that you hear, whatever it is really simplistic so that you can kind of take it and mold it into whatever version you need it. But how could we use that, the power of storytelling to effectively mobilize a team? Well, if you think about it, if you think about any story, think about its cadence. So you start out typically with a problem, right? Like if you think about Cinderella, she had the mean stepsisters, the mean, stepmom. There was some plight. There was some problem. And they had to solve that problem. And then there was somebody that was the hero or the, main character that came to sort of save the day, typically. So if we think about, Cinderella, we think about the fairy godmother, or the prince. If we think about Snow White, we think about, there was the evil witch, and then there was the prince that saved the day. So if I'm saying this to my team, I'm going to say, hey guys, I want to be very blunt. We're facing a tough situation, whether it's a financial goal or whether we've got something big coming up, a big audit, something. And I'm going to say, this is where we're at. This is what we're up against. Right? Because that also builds some suspense. It lets everybody know, oh, wow, okay, most people like a challenge. Then I'm going to kind of give them a small glimpse of that challenge so that they can kind of grasp it and so that they can understand where we're at. But then I'm going to give them the hope that there is the other side, that there is the ability to overcome. And not only am I going to give them that hope, I'm going to explain to them exactly how, my plan, right? I'm going to explain to them my plan, but I'm also going to appeal to them to help me to be those characters, whether it's the 7 dwarfs that helped, whether it's all the supporting characters like what was it, Little John in Robin Hood, those people that were integral to making it happen, integral to the overall arc of the story. And I'm going to then say, but if we can do this and when we do this, this is what we'll get. We'll have that fairy tale ending. We'll get to the pot of gold on the other side. I want to cap this story off with something that I thought is a pretty cool story. I heard that people now believe that dragons obviously were not real. There was some speculation that maybe dragons at one time, or maybe they were some sort of, dinosaur or something that at one time may have actually existed. But this version said that it was a representation of men's fear. So typically we have a few basic fears: the fear of falling, fear of loud noises. But as we grow, most people have a fear of fire. So we know that if we build a fire in the woods, it tends to scare animals away. Even in the Bible, the story of the serpent, there's a fear of serpents and snakes. So if you think about a dragon represents most of the fears, of the most common fears that we would have to face and overcome. And dragons always had treasure, right? Like, why would some dinosaur have any need for a big treasure chest of gold or whatever it is that they were protecting? So the theory is that those were the dragon was a representation of the fears that men needed to overcome to get to their proverbial treasure, to transcend where they were currently at and realize a higher, greater value. And I thought that was pretty cool, because that's a great story when you think about that. They came up with this dragon and you had the person go out and slay the dragon and get the treasure. Think about how applicable we can make that to our daily lives, about us going out and facing our dragons, whatever that might be, right? And think about if we relayed that to our teams and we said, whatever it is, we got a big audit coming, we need to clean this place, or we got, a sales quota to hit, slay that dragon. Come on, guys, we're going to slay that dragon, and we're going to link it to whatever treasure is at the end of that journey or that task. So I thought that was cool. I wanted to share that with you. The only way to get good at this is competency. You've got to practice. And one of the easiest and best ways is to just, in everyday conversation, practice embedding or putting in little metaphors and into your daily conversations and language. right? Like a great one is to say, come on, you guys know how to do this. You guys are like a tree or a plant. It doesn't have to be told how to take in sunlight and soak up water. It just does it. It naturally knows how to do this. You guys know this. You guys know that from an ethical or moral standpoint, like, people tend to hear those and take those in, and it soaks in and marinates within them to where they grasp that story, and it tends to magnify and grow within the person. So that's a great thing to use. A great tip is to use metaphors and practice sort of relating things in a story line, in a manner that paints a picture or tells a story. And when you do that and get used to it and practice it, it kind of becomes second nature, and you begin to use a lot of metaphorical language. And then if you really, really want to take it to that next level, to the higher degree, start embedding within those metaphors what I call a lockdown sentence, or some people, you'll hear it called like a double bind. So it's not an open-ended. So paint that picture of, come on, you guys know, just like all the stories, like, like Rocky or whoever, like, even when it seems like the fight's over, it's not over until it's over. We can beat this. I need you guys to find that inner warrior, that inner fighter in you, and pull it out. And we got to make it through this round. And if we can make it through, I know we can do this, right? So I'm building that suspense, telling that story. They're now not seeing themselves as a factory worker or a cook. They're seeing themselves as a underdog boxer that needs to fight to win. And I'm going to say then a double bind. So do you want to work hard now, or do you want to work hard later? Do you want to work hard and get through this, or do we want to take the beating on the other end? Do we want to muscle up and beat this right now, do the hard work, or do we want to take our beating on the back end? Because what I've said, we're going to take a beating either way. We're either going to get it done now and do the hard work, or we're going to suffer the consequences when we get beat down by our boss on the back end. So I've told them an amazing story. They've linked that up. And then now I've locked it down with a double bind and said, we're going to do it now or we're going to do it later. I'd rather go ahead and do it now, right? Same thing if you're talking to individuals. When I talk on an individual level and I want to relate it to finances or something, do you want to struggle now or do you want to struggle later? When I'm talking to students, do you want to do the hard work now and sacrifice a little bit of going out for that degree? Or do you want to do it when you're 40 or 50? Do you want to forego those desserts and struggle now? Or do you want to feel bad when you got to take your shirt off at the pool? Do you want to forego some, buying something that will give you a momentary feeling of happiness? Or do you want to save that money and invest it so that you can do something later? So that's where we use this power of story and lock it down with a double bind, and you will be absolutely amazing. Just start practicing. Practice with your employees to get them to take breaks. Hey, do you want to take your break now or later? Do you want to take your break at this time before you do this or right after this? When's the best time for you to take your break, now or later? I'm not giving them an option. Hey, do you want to take a break? Hey, be sure you take a break today. I'm saying, you're going to take a break now or you're going to take a break later, right? So use that to your advantage. Start practicing, using it in everyday conversations. People won't even know what you're doing, and you will be amazed at the results you start to see. This is Lessons in Leadership. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, please subscribe, and by all means, please leave a comment. I love to get engagement. Last but not least, stop wasting your time watching videos. Go out and get to work.